I don't know what to do with my hair these days. I'm looking like Paulie Walnuts up in here from The Sopranos. Awesome show. Folks, what's going on with you guys? I hope you're having a good day. And today, I want to share with you guys a prison-related news story that is pretty damn crazy involving this man right here, a guy by the name of Richard Cephas. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Richard Cephas or his story, this man just recently escaped from prison, a federal prison at that, because he was scared to be there, and probably scared for damn good reason. His fear stemmed from what's taking place in the world and is also happening up inside of the prisons with this sickness that's basically plaguing the entire earth right now. Hopefully, we're kind of getting beyond this. I truly hope that's what's going to be happening soon. And as we get into this story, I want to ask you guys, this brings up a really good question. You know, is there ever a valid reason for escaping prison? And if there was ever a valid reason for escaping prison, I think, this could potentially be that. Let's go ahead and be real here. The answer to that question is no. And especially in the federal system, it would be the same in the state as well. They ain't gonna give a rat's ass what your reasoning is for escaping. You escaped, so you're gonna have to face punishment for that. And even more crazy than the fact that this man escaped from prison was because he feared catching this virus, is the fact that this man, after 18 days on the lam, he turned himself in. Why in the hell would you do that? You got out, you got away. Whatever your plan was, it worked. The statistical rate for how long it takes before boy, that was a bar. The statistical rate for how long it takes before you get caught again isn't very long. It's probably something like 24 to 48, maybe 72 hours. Most prison escapees last out there on the run. This man was gone for 18 days. He had beaten the statistical odds. Or maybe they really just weren't looking for him too tough because of everything that's going on in the world right now. But whatever the case may be, this man was gone. He got out. He wanted to escape because he was scared. He got out, and then he turned himself in after 18 days. Now, during the time that Mr. Cephas was on the run, this man would actually do a couple of interviews with different media outlets, and I watched one of those videos. It was 15 minutes long. Folks, who's got time to watch a 15-minute long video? Most After Prison Show videos, they about 30 minutes. But I watched one of the interviews that this man did, and he shared a bit of the story where he said that he had heard through the grapevine from a guy that was working in Unicor, and Unicor is your top, if there is a top type of job that you can have in the federal system. It's like factory work. Some facilities make brake pads, and I believe where Richard Cephas was serving his time at, down in North Carolina, a place called Butner. I want to say at that Unicor, they make the brake pads down there. I could be wrong. If somebody knows different, please comment down below and let all of us know. But this guy, Richard Cephas, would share during this interview that he had heard from a guy who was working in Unicor that another guy who was working there had that high five, that ninja, that Kawasaki Ducati, ding, 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 that virus. And I guess that this guy who had this supposedly was in the same housing unit with Mr. Cephas. And they weren't quarantining this dude, which I can't really understand. Look, if somebody's got the sickness and they know somebody's got the sickness, I would imagine, they're going to move that person. It could be wrong. They're probably handling these type of situations, all sorts of crazy. But when this guy heard this, that was when he began to think about getting out. He said he was speaking to the unit manager there, asking, hey, what are y'all planning to do with the long-term plan for this thing? We don't even have any soap, he said. And he said based upon that conversation, he really felt like he wasn't getting the right type of answers. He was scared, and even more scared than somebody else, because of the fact that he said he himself had some sort of a disease or some sort of an immune compromised thing that made him more vulnerable to this. For them reasons right there, Richard was gone. He got away. Now, at this Butner federal complex down in North Carolina, I don't know a hell of a lot about this federal prison complex. I know a little bit about it because while I was locked up getting ready to serve the 7 years that I was, doing the 2 years in the jail. At this particular jail, they were bringing federal prisoners back from Butner who were having to go back to court for a reconsideration up inside the federal system. That's called snitching, trying to get a time cut. And they would tell me a little bit about this Butner facility. And one thing that I know is they've got multiple levels here. They've got your low, you've got your medium, they probably even got your USP, which is your highest level of federal prison, or one of the highest levels. And I'm guessing that this Richard Cephas guy was not at no medium or no USP. Is a medium a USP in the federal system? Or is it just the high? Somebody let me know if you know that. I'm guessing he was at a low, and at a low, they probably don't have any fences, if many fences, which made it that much more easier for this man to escape. Now, I don't know that for certain. We're gonna share a little bit from this news story and see what we can gather from it. Not gonna make this video super long, but I do know one thing federal authorities, were able to see was this guy Richard's JPay, his prison emails. And in those prison emails to his family, he was saying things like, it's not going to be much longer, and something else. I can't remember what else he said, but it was definitely like some key words to key in on that this guy was planning on getting up out of Dodge, or Butner down in North Carolina. Richard Cephas was a non-violent offender as well, serving a 5-year prison sentence for drug-related charges stemming from Delaware. We just talked about this recently in a comment response video, and after yesterday's video, I really want to do another comment response video. Some of y'all I'd ask to meet me at the food line. Yeah, damn y'all mean. But in that last comment response video, we talked about the fact that in the federal system, they can ship you anywhere. This man caught charges in Delaware. Here he is serving time down in North Carolina. But I share this with you guys because he was serving 5 years, non-violent. If you get 5 years or less in the feds, you are blessed in the feds. That's a bar right there. 5 years or less in the feds, you're blessed in the feds. Or either you're taking shots in the courtroom for the heads in the feds. You about to do this time. I ain't about to do this. You better tell him you were a connection. And the crazy thing about the amount of time that Mr. Cephas was serving, he had already done about 3 years. He had 2 years left when he decided that he wasn't about to sit up in this prison no more because he was scared. And now that he's turned himself back in, that his story has gained a little bit of notoriety due to the interviews that he's done with different news outlets, Mr. Cephas feels like he shouldn't get any additional time for this escape. And he also says that, he didn't sign up for this. He did not sign up for what he referred to as a potential death sentence. I didn't know when, you get caught, you sign up for much of anything. But I want to share a couple of key points from this story, and I want to know what you guys think. Escapee from North Carolina federal prison turns himself in after 3 weeks on the run. I can't believe you turned yourself back in. Richard Cephas, the federal inmate who had fled out of fear he would die from the virus outbreak at the prison complex in Butner, turned himself into authorities at a Delaware courthouse on Monday and was charged with escape, a federal prosecutor says. Dude had 2 years left to serve off of a 5-year sentence. He had a pound puppy to serve, and they about to give him a fresh pound puppy. I truly feel like he's probably going to get about 5 years for this. Maybe he gets a little bit less. Maybe there's some compassion. You talked to the media. You was, exposing the prison system. You had fear for your safety, and you did turn yourself back in. You were a nonviolent offender. You didn't go out there on no rah-rah stuff. Maybe there's a chance. Richard Cephas would go on to say, I take ownership of having to serve my time, but I signed up for a jail sentence, not a death sentence. That's a pretty valid point right there. Doing a little more research on this, Butner, this complex down there in North Carolina, they are definitely dealing with a pretty decent amount of people who've got this virus there. So maybe what he heard through the prison grapevine, was absolutely true. Maybe that was patient zero. I mean, ain't no way to tell for sure, but they definitely got the down there. So this dude had every reason to be worried. And you know what else I'm surprised about, Bond? Is the fact that we ain't heard about more people doing this. He fled the prison's work camp nearly 3 weeks ago, and that right there is a very important thing to mention. He was at a work camp. Guaranteed there weren't no fences there. Here in the state of Virginia, there's this urban legend, this prison myth. I don't know how much truth there is to this, if there's any truth at all. But you'll hear this definitely at a road camp or work center, because they've got those in the state system too. If you're out on a work detail, cleaning up ditches, cutting grass, whatever you're doing, if you're out there and you walk off the job because you're already outside of the fence, it's not an escape charge. It's a walking off charge. It's a prison urban legend. I don't know if there's any truth to it at all, but it's supposedly different than actually hopping that fence. When you commit the act of climbing and getting over that barbed wire, that's an escape. But when you're already outside of the fence, is that as severe? And I don't know if Richard Cephas was on a work detail when he walked off, or if he was just at a facility that didn't have any fences. It had an imaginary line. And unfortunately for Mr. Cephas, that line that he crossed was real, and that escape was illegal. Shout out to that movie Blow. Absolute classic right there. The prison had said Cephas was a non-dangerous offender who was serving a 5.5-year sentence for his role in drug trafficking from Delaware. And he told a news outlet that he had roughly another 18 months left to serve before he fled, and had been a model inmate. That is something you don't really ever hear. You know, I think about back to when I was serving time and the model inmates that I was around, and you would look at these dudes and be like, man, there ain't no way that dude's ever about to escape from prison. That dude buffs the floors 4 times a day. If he escapes, he's taking that floor buffer with him. Maybe all of that was a facade. Maybe Richard Cephas is possibly the smartest prisoner there's ever been, because he most certainly would be the least likely of suspects. If you were to ever think about somebody who was going to escape from prison being a model prisoner, you know what they refer to model prisoners as here in this state? You a snitch. You a Tekashi 6ix9ine type of an inmate. Model prisoner. You ain't never had no write-up? Who you been telling on? And where'd you get that chicken sandwich from? Here's an interesting point to mention. The prison system said, we are grateful for our dedicated law enforcement officers, particularly the United States Marshal Service, who's going to be hunting your ass if ever you're a fugitive from the law, who investigated Mr. Cephas' alleged escape over the past several weeks. They pursued this case in the face of the heightened risk presented by the pandemic in order to ensure the public's safety. You just said this man was a non-dangerous inmate and a model prisoner. And I'm gonna wrap this up with 2 final things real quick. Cephas would go on to say, I have to be honest, I don't feel that I should get time for escaping from prison, he said. If it wasn't for this virus, I would have never have left. And then finally, by Sunday, the Bureau had reported 65 inmates and 27 staff testing positive, and by Monday, those numbers dropped to 31 inmates and 25 staff. 5 inmates have died at that Butner complex, all but one of whom prison officials said also suffered from other medical complications. Folks, what do you think about this? Do you think this fear and this rationale was justifiable reason for why this man did what he did? How come we haven't heard of others doing this, or at least attempting to do so? Have there been others? Maybe I just haven't heard of them. If you've heard of anything similar, please comment down below and let us all know. And finally, do you think they're going to smoke old Richard Cephas' boots for what he's done? I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell you guys, he's definitely going to get some additional time for this. All that model prisoner stuff's up out the window right now. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Like I said, I want to wrap this video up. I don't want to make this super long, and I really want to know what you guys think about this story. So please leave a like and a comment letting us all know. And please, take it easy on me. You guys have been going in on me in the comments section. Can I catch a break? Can we be friends again? If not, kick rocks. I don't need to keep saying all that negativity. But as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. I almost went all Bob Ross-like. Another one of those is coming real soon as well. Peace!